Welcome all. In this particular video, we will see the concept of control statements. So Java supports two selection statements, if and switch. These statements allow you to control the flow of your program's execution based upon conditions known only during runtime. So ultimately, see, control statements are required when you are trying to provide some kind of conditions to your particular application. So whenever you write some programs, it is required, because as an end user he can demand anything. As a developer, it is your work to write a program in such a way that whatever the requirements given by the end user, it has to be met, isn't it? Say for example, let me give some simple examples over here. So whenever you fill the form, say any online forms, so there will be some conditions which will be already set to the password field. So it will give some suggestions, isn't it? There must be one capital letter, or there it has to be mixed with some special characters, numbers, as well as the alphabets, in which one alphabet must be in a capital letter or uppercase, isn't it? So there will be some conditions. So whatever the password you give, if it is not meeting the condition of actually given by the developer, then it will not take your password. Have you ever observed this? So this is a kind of condition statements which the developer has put over there, so that the user has to follow that particular scenario. Okay, so control statements plays a major role in any kind of programming, because based on this control statements only you are going to put the condition on a particular application or software or any development scenarios. Okay, we can see one by one. So first one is if. So the if statement is Java's conditional branch statement. It can be used to route program execution through two different paths. So you can see that you can see the syntax, actually the general way of writing that particular if statement. So if followed by one condition, it will check the condition. If it is true, then you are going to execute the statement 1. If it is not true, then you are going to execute the statement 2. So these are the simple concepts which will be applied on Java as well. So whatever the rest of the condition statements you have learned so far, the same concepts will be carried out in this particular Java field as well. So you can see some examples over there. So there are two integer values or variables, so with the name a and b. So it will check if a is lesser than b. If it is true, then it will assign 0 to a. If it is not, it will assign 0 to b. That is the meaning of that particular code snippet. It is a simple example actually. So most often the expression used to control the if will involve the relational operators. However, this is not technically necessary. It is possible to control the if using single boolean variable shown below. So you can see the example over there, but usually we go for relational operator. It may be greater than, lesser than, greater than or equal to, or lesser than or equal to, not equal to, or you can go for some single values also, if of 1, if of 2, based on your actually based on your, see, if you want to go to say for example some looping statements and all, you can try out all those things. Okay, so but usually relational operators will be used inside the if condition. So whenever you are giving some conditions, it will be based on the relational operators. But ultimately in Java you can provide the boolean variable also. If it is true or if it is false, what should be the conditional path or flow. So in the same example they have given there, so it is boolean followed by one variable, that is nothing but data available is nothing but a variable name. Okay, so if of that particular thing, it may be true or false depending on the program flow. So if it is true, then you are going to call the process data method. Process data is nothing but a method. So method definition will be in some other place, but it is a, what I can say, it is a snippet actually. It is a skeleton of that particular program, so that you can visualize how exactly this if condition will work. So if it is a boolean value based on true false, you can execute, or you can restrict the flow of the program based on your requirement actually. Okay, so now if it is true, if the data variable, or sorry, a data available variable is with the true value, then you are going to execute process data method, or else wait for more data method. Okay, so it is same as some method. This is just a function call. In C you do the function call, isn't it? Same concept here. Or in C++ also you do the function call. So this is the same concept of function call, but here in Java I used the term methods instead of saying function. Okay, so you have one more example over here. So there are two variables with the name a and b, which has the capacity to store integer values. Pardon me, actually you cannot go for a capital A. That is just a mistake actually while typing. So you make it as smaller a, okay, lowercase a, because what will be the problem if you do that? Can anyone imagine the error you are going to get if you execute this program? Obviously along with all your class and main method, everything, but if you execute this program, what will be the error? So it will say undefined a, isn't it? A is unknown to the program. Capital A is unknown to the program, because Java is a case sensitive, why. And in variable declaration also, if you follow some uppercase, it has to be in uppercase itself. If you follow the lowercase rule, it has to be in a lowercase itself. You cannot change it. That is the one thing. So make sure that while writing the program or while executing the program, just change that uppercase a to lowercase a. Otherwise you can go for uppercase a declaration. That also fine, that also works fine. Okay, so while declaring the variable, make it as a capital A. Otherwise change the or otherwise while initializing, just change the capital A to small a. Okay, so that ultimately for the explanation purpose, so you are assigning value 10 to variable A and 8 to variable B. So you are going to check the condition if A is greater than B. In this particular example, it is true because 10 is greater than 8. So you are going to call which function? You are going to call continue underscore function method. This is a method actually, method name or function name. Fine. So you are going to call continue underscore function name, and after calling that function, once the control comes back to the same program, you are going to decrement the value of a by 1. That is the reason why I have gone for that particular instruction. A minus equal to 1. What is the meaning? A minus equal to 1 means A equal to A minus 1. So initially, what is the value of A? What is the value which is stored in the A variable? It is nothing but 10. So in the next iteration, or after the execution of this code, A value will be decremented to 9, because 10 equal to 10 minus 1, isn't it? Ultimately A equal to 10 minus 1, so that 10 minus 1 is nothing but 9. So 9 will be stored in A variable. So if the condition is not true, for example, then you are going to call the which method you are going to call? You are going to execute else part. That is nothing but abort underscore function method. So you are going to call that method. So in this particular example, if you concentrate on this particular example, definitely you are going to call continue underscore or cont underscore function method, because condition will be satisfied in this particular example. Fine. So next thing is nested ifs. So nested ifs is nothing, this is a concept where you will be having multiple if conditions based on your requirement. So a nested if is an if statement that is the target of another if or else. Nested if are very commonly very common in programming. When you nest ifs, the main thing to remember is that an else statement always refers to the nearest if statement that is within the same block as the else and that is not already associated with the an else. So the meaning, see, you have to make this particular point very clear, that when when you nest ifs, the main thing to remember is that an else statement always refers to the nearest if statement. So when you have multiple if statements, obviously you get confused with the else part, isn't it? So this else is associated with which if? That is the biggest doubt you are going to get when you have, say for example, 8 ifs or 9 if statement, the one after the other in the programming lines. Definitely there will be a problem with the else part. So you can see that example. That is the reason why I just marked in a red color and sky blue color. So first if condition is if I equal to 10. That is nothing but you are going to check whether I has the value 10 or not. If it is true, just to make a point here, if that particular thing is true, if I equal 10, which is true, means you are going to get inside that particular braces or flower brackets. Then again you are going to check if j is lesser than 20. Say if I equal to 10, definitely you are coming into that particular conditional statement. Then again you are going to check whether j is lesser than 20 or not. If j is lesser than 20, for example, if it is so, then you are going to assign the value of b to a. Else, now what will be the else part here? Because you don't have any else over there. Again you have if condition. What if there is a else? Just just think and tell me. You have to execute. If you have any programming, you can execute this program in C also, not a problem, because the concepts are very similar in C and C++. Whatever the if and else or nested if if concepts you have already executed or you have learned previously, the same concept you are going to work on Java as well. Okay, now I want you to tell me, what if you have that else statement? If j is not equal, j is not less than 20, what the program will do? It is your part of work to tell me. So if it is true, again, then you are coming, you are going to initialize the value b b value to a. Then you have again if condition, if k greater than 100. If the condition is true, then you are going to assign d value to c, else you are going to assign c value to a. That is fine, because immediate if, else is written immediately after the if statement. Now after closing the bracket, you have else statement for the first if condition. That is nothing but I equal to 10. If the first condition only fails, directly control come to else part, that red color, whichever I marked in a red color, the control will come there and it will assign d value to a. That is the meaning of this nested ifs. So it is your work. Now I have already asked one question. Whenever you get the resources or whenever it is convenient for you, execute this program and let me know what is the condition and how control will behave if you write this particular example or if you execute this particular example. Fine. The next thing is if else if ladder. Okay, so it is nothing but a multi else if conditions. There is a concept of if else and else if, isn't it? So the common programming construct that is based upon the sequence of nested ifs. If the is the if else if ladder. Look, you can see the particular syntax over there. So there will be if condition, statement will be executed, else. Again, in the else part only, if you have one more condition. Say for example, you are trying to fetch the age from a particular user. Now there is a condition like if the age is between 50 to 70. Fine. So for example 50 to 70, but he is giving some other value, means again you are going to check else if age is not equal to 0. Because there is a possibility, again, isn't it? Actually the first condition only gives the better age value, but you can go for, if it is true, then you can execute the statement. If the age is not, say for example, if the age is not between 50 to 70, now again you can check if the height is 5 greater than 5 or lesser than 5. In some conditions you can give based on the requirement ultimately. So for all those things, if you have multiple if else conditions, instead of going for nested if, you can try out this particular style of writing the program also. Say if else if, so based on the conditional values. So this is one of the concept which you have to remember for else if concepts, that particular thing. Okay, now the next thing is switch. The switch statement is Java's multi-way branch statement. It provides an easy way to dispatch execution to different part of your code based on the values of an expression, such as it often provides a better alternative than a large series of if-else if statements. Obviously, so to eradicate the length of the code, see, always remember, whenever you are writing any programming, make sure that you minimize the number of variables in your program, minimize the number of lines you write. The meaning of this particular sentence is you have to satisfy all the requirements of the end user, but with the minimum number of lines. That is the meaning. Okay, so try to reduce the number of lines, try to reduce the number of variables which you declare, try to reduce the memory consumptions, wastage of memory. You should not do that wastage of memory. It has to be maintained. Then only you can get the better application, or the efficient application, I can say. Fine. So instead of going for a series of if else ladder, you can directly go for switch statement. So in this case, the difference is switch is nothing but a keyword. You will be having some expressions inside the switch statement, so that if the expression is true, or it is not just true, whatever the value you are giving to that particular switch statement, based on that particular result of that expression, the case will be called. It is nothing but, say for example, if the expression is say for you are going to get the value as 5, for example, I am saying. So definitely the case 5 will be called or executed. So based on that expression value, you are going to call the case. It may be value 1, value 2, up to value n. It may be anything. Based on that, you are going to execute the statements or code. Okay, now if it is not set with any of the values, definitely default, the last part of that particular code will be executed. So you will be having some example, you can get the better idea for this. So there are some theoretical points you have to remember. The expression must be of type byte, short, int or char. Each of the values specified in the case statement must be of a type compatible with the expression. You have to remember this. So whenever you can, in a concept of Java, if you ask me to explain about the Java, then you can include the type like byte, because byte is available in Java. You may not you may not see this particular data type in C, or even though it is available, you may not be using it, isn't it? You usually don't use byte. Byte variable, data type is available in Java itself. Okay, now short, int and char, it is available in rest of the programming language also. So based on that particular type of data which you are going to provide for the expression, the same thing has to be used for the case values also. Otherwise, case statements may not detect a particular value which is provided in switch statement. Okay, so that is the thing. The switch statement works like this. There are some theoretical concept, you can read it. The value of the expression is compared with each of the literal values in the case statement. If a match is found, the code sequence following that case statement is executed. If none of the constant matches the values of the expression, then the default statement is executed. However, the default statement is optional. If no case matches and no default is present, then no further action is taken. So this is nothing but, see, based on the expression value, whatever the expression you are getting inside the switch condition, that expression, that value will be invoked inside the switch statement. If that particular value is not available inside the switch statement or case statements, then default statements will be executed. Okay, so if as per their explanations, the default statement is optional. If you want to give, you can give, otherwise you can just close the switch statement. Okay, so you can see some examples in further slides also, but you have to remember this. I am pretty sure that you have already executed the concept of or the programs for switch statements. Okay, it is one of the better approach for programming. Okay, the break statement is used inside a switch to terminate a statement sequence. When a break statement is encountered, execution branches to the first line of the code that follows the entire switch statement. This has the effect of jumping out of the switch. So break is nothing but a keyword which is used usually inside switch to terminate the control flow, or to terminate that particular execution. After that particular statement which is being executed, the control has to come out, or to terminate, it has to be terminated. Okay, so you can see one example over here. So this is nothing but you can see that this is a Java example actually I have taken here. There is a class with the name sample switch. Inside that you have main method. Inside that one for loop you are going to run. So what is that for loop? So I equal to 0, I lesser than 6, I plus plus. So 6 times it will run. This particular for loop will run for 6 times. So there is a switch condition over there, or you are going to give the expression and you have some case values. Now in the first iteration I equal to 0, isn't it? For the first iteration I equal to 0, that means switch off I, that is nothing but switch off 0. Fine. Now the control will come inside that particular switch condition. Now which case is being encountered over there, because the expression value is nothing but 0, then case 0 will be executed. So what is the case 0? You are going to print the value as I is 0. That will be printed on the monitor. Then you have break, so it will be coming out of that particular switch. Again you are going back to the for loop. You are going to increment the value I plus plus. So the value of I will be 1, so it is nothing but switch off 1. Now case 1 will be executed, because expression value is nothing but 1, so it will match with the case value. So case value also 1, so you are going to print the value as I is 1 on the monitor. Again it's a break. You are not going to execute case 2 directly. You are coming out of that particular switch condition. Again you are going back to the for loop. I will be incremented. Now I value will be 2. Again you are coming inside the switch, like switch off 2. Switch off 2 means it will check for case 2 value. Case 2 also there present inside the switch. Then you are going to print the value as I is 2. In the same fashion you will be running this particular series of loops, isn't it? How many times it will run? So for the next round I will be 3, because after incrementing I will be 3. You are going to execute the case 3 value, isn't it? I is 3, it will be printed on the monitor. Now again you are coming back to the for loop. I will be 4. Now switch off 4. Do you have switch off 4 inside the switch statement? You don't have case statement with the value 4, so you are directly going to print the value default values. So output will be I is greater than 3. So how many times I is greater than 3 will be executed, or I will be printed on the monitor? You have to tell me how many times I is greater than 3 that sentence will be printed on the monitor. Now think and let me know. It is your work to tell me, or if you have the system, execute and let me know. If you don't have the execution resources for execution, you can calculate in your brain and let me know the answer. Fine. The next thing is you have one more program. I hope it is visible to you all. So you have one more class with the name missing break. Now in this particular example you will not be writing break for each and every case. How exactly this program will run, it is your work to imagine this output for this particular program. I will explain some of the code snippet over here so that you can visualize a little bit, at least you can visualize the code. Okay, now inside the class you have main method. Inside the main method you have one for loop. That for loop will run 12 times, isn't it? I equal to 0, I lesser than 12, I plus plus. So total 12 times this for loop will execute, isn't it? It will run, it will iterate. Fine. Now for the first iteration, I will be 0. Now switch off 0 is not switch off 0. It will check the switch off 0. You have a case statement with the value 0. It will directly come to case 0. Now do you have anything inside the case 0? Do you have any statement? Are you printing something, or do you have break? No, you have nothing. So when you have nothing, it will go to case 1. No, there also you have nothing. It will go to case 2, case 3, case 4. In case 4, you have one statement, system.out.println I is less than 5, and it will break. So in the first iteration, you are going to print I is less than 5 and it will break. Again, it will come out, check for the loop, it will increment the value I. I will be 1 now. Switch off 1. Switch off 1 is nothing but case of 1. You don't have any break statement for case of 1. It will go to case 2. You don't have any break statement in the case 2. It will go to case 3, case 4. So in case 4, I is lesser than 5. It will print on the monitor. So how many times I is lesser than 5 will be printed on the monitor? How many times? 5 times, isn't it? Up to I equal to 4, it will execute. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Total 5 lines of this particular I is lesser than will be printed on the monitor. Now when I will be 5, it will come to case 5. Case 5, you don't have break. Case 6, you don't have nothing. You don't have anything. Case 7, you don't have anything. Case 8, you don't have anything. For case 9, you have I is less than 10. So ultimately, in the same fashion, it will run how many times? Think and tell me how many times that particular I is lesser than 10 will be printed on the monitor. Then after that, you have break statement. Again, it will go to for loop, and it will I want you to tell me the default statement also. How many times default statement will run and why? Okay. If you have any doubt in this particular example, you can get back to me, but ultimately you should be knowing why also, the answer for why. It is not just how, why also you require, because to pull out the stories or to pull out the answers in the examination, you should require the knowledge of the control flow. Fine. So this is a brief example I have given. I don't know whether you have executed this kind of program in your previous semesters or not. If you did not execute anything as such, if you have the resources, try to execute the program. If you don't have the resources, if you cannot even track the program, you can get back to me. I can help you out. Fine. The next thing is nested switch statements. As you have nested if, in the same fashion you have nested switch statement also in Java. You can use a switch as a part of statement sequence of an outer switch. This is called nested switch. So if you have one switch statement inside another switch, then definitely it can be said as nested switch. So nesting is nothing but you are keeping a particular concept inside another concept which is similar to each other. Fine. So now it is a kind of block. You can see the example over there. You have switch off count inside the count, inside the switch statement. You have case 1. In the case 1, you have statement of again switch. There is one more condition or switch expression. Based on that, you are going to execute the program in the same fashion. So you can see inside the case 1, you have again one switch. You have one expression inside that nested switch. You have again case 0, break, case 1, etc., and you are going to close it. After that, you are going to break the loop, then you are coming to case 2, and so on. So that is nothing but one switch inside the another switch. That is nothing but nested switch statements. Fine. So if you have the resources, please execute this kind of programs, or you can give your own expressions, you can give your own conditions. Based on that, you can execute the switch statements, because switch plays a major role while developing an applications for the end users. Remember this much, because if can be written for some part of code, but switch can be optional. So if you want to give some options to the customers, if you want to say, for example, if you are building some application with some menus, say for example total 5 menu, so if the user presses 2, then that 2 has to come and sit in that switch of 2. Then you have to execute case of 2, and inside the case of 2 you have to write some code. So in that fashion you can imagine the concept of switch. So switch is very important in this particular programming. Okay, so you have to remember this much. So there are 3 important feature of switch statement to note. So concentrate on these 3 statements. It will be important features of switch. The first one is the switch differs from the if in that switch can only test for equality, whereas if can evaluate any type of boolean expression. That is, the switch looks only for match between values which expression and one of its case constants. Definitely, so switch is valid only when you should, there should be a similar connection between your expression as well as case values. Say for example, if this say for example switch of 10, you get the value like switch of 10, and you did not write any case for 10, or up to case 5 only you have, then definitely you are going to execute the value of default, then you may not meet your requirements. So that is the meaning of that particular entire point. So based on the relationship between the expression and case value, then only, if there any expression connection, then only you can execute that particular part of the code. That is the meaning. Okay, the second point is no two case constants in the same switch can have identical values. So this is another one. So say for example, inside the switch statement you cannot have case 0 case 0 or case 1 case 1 until and unless you don't have nested switch. If you have nested switch, it is okay, you can have two case zeros, because one case zero is for outer switch statement and another case zero for nested switch, or inside the switch statement, or nested switch I can say. Fine, that is the only possible where you can have identical values for case statements, otherwise switch will fail. Okay, it will be having some dilemma if you have same case values for, or identical case values more than one. Okay, so you should not be doing that. The last point is the switch statement is usually more efficient than set of nested ifs. So this is the actual concept. There is no concept explanation for this, because if you have, instead of going for multiple nested ifs or if else if ladder, it is better to go for switch statement based on the requirements. They can write the example. So I will give a simple example for switch statement. Say for example, you are writing a program where customer is allowed to order the food items. Say for example, first item is masala dosa, second item is idli, third item is say vada, fourth item is say for example you can go for parota. Okay, so okay, for total 4 items. So if the user wants, say for example, if the user wants masala dosa, then he can go for case 1 or value, he can press the value 1, then switch of 1 will be executed. Switch of 1 will check for case of 1. If the case of 1 is statement is there, then you are going to print the values like, yes dear customer, you have selected masala dosa and proceed for payment, something like that. You can write the code in that fashion. Okay, so ultimately if you have menu, if you have more than one options to select, then definitely it is better to go for switch statement. Okay, so there are some, there are many practical examples you can see in day-to-day life, but you don't bother to understand the actual technical concepts which are behind that particular technology. Okay, so there are so many real-time examples, but whenever we code, we can visualize the concepts in a better plan or better way. So that is the reason why I said it is better if you have the system execute codes, keep on executing the codes. So definitely once after I finish this particular unit, definitely I'll give some simple assignments for you all, so that you can write the program or you can execute and you can get the screenshot of your output, so that I can see what is the level of coding you have or the knowledge of coding you have. So that based on that I can prepare you for Java. That is the thing. Okay, so let me wind up the concepts here. So rest of the things we will deal in the next video. Thanks for watching.